My cheating son-in-law's arrogant mistress demanded respect, so I systematically destroyed her. And his entire career fictional story, but meaningful. Where are you watching from? There are those who think that wearing an expensive suit and spraying a pricey cologne can hide the rot inside their nature. They believe that those who wear mud-stained work uniforms, old men with calloused hands, are just trash at the bottom of society. But they don't know that sometimes the most dangerous wolf chooses to wear the skin of a weak old sheep. Especially when they dare to touch my family. My name is Arthur. I am 58 years old. For more than half of my life, I served in military intelligence, specializing in risk analysis, tracking dirty money, and exposing the most sophisticated underground networks. When I was discharged, I applied those skills to the real estate market and became someone the underground financial world calls the anonymous shark. I own the majority shares in a series of the most bustling commercial buildings in the city, but I never appear on magazine covers or attend lavish high society parties. I like silence. I like the smell of machine oil, the feel of a cold wrench in my hand, and I like being a simple old maintenance man. That cover allows me to observe the world in the most authentic way, because people only reveal their true nature when facing those they consider inferior. My most valuable asset isn't massive real estate blocks or long strings of zeros in my bank account. The only asset I truly cherish is my daughter Allison. She is 32, a smart, decisive senior marketing executive, and my greatest pride. 7 years ago, she married Michael. Michael is a polished-looking man who always knows how to flash a perfect half-smile and say sweet words at the right time. From the first day, Allison brought him home. My military intelligence instincts went on high alert. His eyes always darted around to assess the value of the furniture before looking into the other person's eyes. But Allison loved him. For my daughter's happiness, I chose to step back, keeping my true identity secret and playing the role of a father-in-law with a modest pension, living simply day by day. I wanted to see if Michael loved my daughter or what he thought she could bring him. 7 years passed. On the surface, they seemed to be a perfect couple. But perfection is often the best camouflage. It all started on a cold Monday morning. I took a maintenance contract for the ventilation system at the high-end TechSphere office building. In reality, that maintenance company is mine, and this building is also in the investment portfolio under my name in the shadows. Michael works as an investment director in this very building. I decided to personally do the maintenance work on the 8th floor where Michael's department works, just to enjoy the pleasure of watching how the system operates. I wore an ash-gray jumpsuit, pulled down a worn baseball cap, and pushed a clanking metal tool cart along the soft, thick-carpeted hallway. The 8th floor is an open space with luxurious frosted glass partitions, fluorescent lights shining down on neat rows of desks. I stopped the cart in front of a cluster of desks, climbed up an aluminum A-frame ladder to check the AC vent that was making an annoying squeaking noise. Looking down from above, everything in the office was exposed before my eyes. Right below where I stood was the desk of a female project assistant. I knew that thanks to the small gold-plated nameplate on the desk, Maya Jenkins. A moment later, Maya appeared. She was about 24, tall, with perfectly wavy hair, her face sharply and meticulously made up. She walked with the confidence of someone who always thought she was the center of the universe. The air around her was thick with the smell of expensive perfume, too strong for an office space. Maya threw her designer handbag onto the chair, then looked up. When her eyes met mine, an old man in protective gear holding a screwdriver, contempt clearly showed on her face. "Hey, old man," Maya spoke, her shrill voice full of condescension. "Could you be a little careful up there? Don't drop dirt or grease on my desk. The things here aren't something your monthly salary can pay for." I paused, slowly looking down. After so many years facing notorious crime bosses and cold gun barrels, the threats of an immature girl couldn't change my heart rate even one beat. I slowly smiled, the gentle and harmless smile of a humble old worker. "I apologize, miss," I replied in a calm, raspy voice. "I will try to finish quickly and not affect your space." "You better," I have a pile of reports to process for the big boss. I don't have time to clean up the mess of people like you. She snorted, pulling a makeup compact from her bag and starting to reapply her lipstick. I turned back to the AC vent, continuing to turn the last screw. But right then, my vision swept across the left corner of Maya's desk. Placed next to a small, succulent plant was a carefully polished silver picture frame, reflecting the office light like a mirror. Inside the frame was a man. My hand slightly paused. I narrowed my eyes, looking closer at the photo through the glass. I was not mistaken. I didn't even need to blink to look a second time. My military-trained facial recognition skills were never wrong. It was Michael, the navy blue polo shirt, the familiar smirk, the faint dimple on his left cheek. It was exactly my son-in-law who had just had dinner with my daughter last night. In the photo, he looked incredibly relaxed and happy. More importantly, the background of the photo was a blue beach and swaying palm trees in the wind. It was Maui, the expensive vacation trip that Allison had personally paid for as a third wedding anniversary gift for him, after she successfully closed a $1 million media campaign. That navy blue polo shirt was also the gift Allison had handpicked. I was not looking at her. This photo should have been on the nightstand in my daughter's bedroom. Yet now, it sat proudly in a silver frame on the desk of a young female assistant, less than 50 meters from where my son-in-law worked. A freezing chill ran down my spine, but outwardly, I maintained a steady posture on the ladder. Military discipline taught me, when facing an about-to-explode bomb, panic is the fastest way to die. You must keep a cold head, analyze the bomb structure, and find the detonating wire to cut it. I slowly stepped down the ladder, gathering my tools slowly and deliberately. I cleared my throat, intentionally making clanking noises to attract Maya's attention. "Nice picture frame," I dropped a casual remark, pointing at the desk with the curiosity of an old man who likes to gossip. The young man in the photo looks very dashing. Looking at that smile, he must be a man who really knows how to treat women. "You have a great picture." My compliment immediately hit Maya's arrogance. She put down the makeup compact, her eyes not looking at her, like someone who just got to touch their favorite subject in the world. The contempt for the old mechanic vanished, making way for vain boasting. She pulled the frame closer, her fingers with long, bright red painted nails gently stroking the glass. "Thank you." Maya smiled with satisfaction, flipping her wavy hair aside. "This is my fiancé. His name is Michael, the senior investment director of this company. We've been together for 3 years. This is my favorite picture, taken during our secret romantic getaway." 3 years, I stood there, my hand gripping the screwdriver handle, suppressing the urge to crush that silver frame. 3 years. My daughter and he had been married for 7 years. That meant from the 4th year of their marriage. When Allison was burying her face in media projects day and night to build a future for both of them, that bastard had been quietly, meticulously building a completely separate life. 3 years, that's really admirable. I nodded, adjusting my voice so as not to reveal the sharp coldness spreading in my veins. Not many young people these days can keep a romance going that long. "So have you two planned on getting married?" My question seemed to hit her exact switch of complacency. Maya immediately raised her left hand. Under the harsh fluorescent office lights, a large diamond ring flashed brilliantly like a sharp blade. The diamond was a large, radiant cut, the kind of ring whose value could be greater than an expensive car. "He just proposed to me last month," Maya said, her tone sweet but full of calculation. "He said he wants to give me the most worthy wedding. We're planning a lavish wedding party at the Plaza Hotel, right in the center of Manhattan. He's very busy, always having to work late, handling complex investment projects. But in return, he takes incredible care of me. Successful men always know how to pamper their women, you know?" I gave a slight nod, but in my head, gears were starting to spin at lightning speed. Allison once told me that Michael didn't like overly flashy engagement rings. He always preached that love shouldn't be measured by showy diamonds, but by understanding. My daughter believed him. Allison was even proud of her simple plain gold wedding band, considering it a symbol of true love, unconcerned with materialism. Now I clearly understood the cruel truth behind those lies. He didn't hate luxury or flashiness. He was simply saving that luxury for another woman. A successful man, I repeated, my voice flat, emotionless. He must make a lot of money to be able to afford a wedding at the plaza for you. Of course, he's preparing to open his own investment fund. We just went to see a few high-end apartments in the Hudson Yards area. Maya babbled on, completely letting her guard down before an old, worn-out repairman. He said that a man's duty is to provide the best home for his family. I looked down to hide my eyes, which were gradually turning as cold as ice. Hudson Yards. Last week when he came over for dinner, Michael mentioned this expensive apartment complex to Allison. He convinced my daughter that it would be a strategic real estate investment to put into their joint asset portfolio. My daughter, with all her naive trust, had nodded in agreement. That's great. I picked up the remaining roll of electrical tape and tossed it into my toolbox. Congratulations, young lady. I wish you a marriage, exactly as you expect. I turned and walked away, pushing the clanking cart out of the area. No sigh, no frown, my face didn't change at all, but inside, a primal rage had been awakened. Whoever dared to betray my daughter had signed his own death warrant for his entire career and honor. That bastard thought he could fool everyone. He thought that, with his investment director title, he could manipulate Allison and build his own empire, using my daughter's blood, sweat, and tears. He looked down on me, considering me just a harmless old man incapable of protecting his child. He had made a fatal mistake. That afternoon, instead of continuing to check the other floors, I locked the technical room door in the building's basement. The space was dark, with only the humming sound of servers and cooling systems. I pulled a specialized laptop from my backpack, a heavily encrypted, maximum security computer reserved only for international financial hunting operations. It was time for the old maintenance man to start his real job. TechSphere's internal Wi-Fi network was pretty good security for civilians, but to the decryption protocols I used for years in the military, it was like a loosely locked wooden door. It took me less than 15 minutes to bypass the firewall, access the central server directly, and hack into Michael's system account. Everything was there: the shady transactions, the encrypted messages, the fake work schedules. I wasn't in a hurry. I worked with the patience of a sniper, waiting for the target to enter the crosshairs. I am a father, and the only thing a real father would do when seeing his daughter pushed into the mud is pull her up and use that very mud to bury the traitor. The game of hide-and-seek was over. It was time to hunt. In the dark basement, the screen light cast pale blue streaks on my heavily wrinkled face. My calloused fingers glided over the keyboard, at a speed no one would expect from an old plumber. In the military, I was trained to track the weapons funding flow of terrorist organizations. Exposing the dirty money-hiding tricks of a financial director like Michael was nothing more than a rookie warm-up exercise for me. I opened a secure encrypted port, linking straight into Allison and Michael's joint Chase Bank portal. My daughter always trusted him with full management of their investment cash flow. A classic mistake of blindly in love women, I downloaded the full statements for the last 12 months. I skimmed through normal expenses: Whole Foods grocery bills, residential service fees, laundry fees. Then, I applied a keyword filtering algorithm. The screen blinked for a few seconds before returning a series of red highlighted results. An electronic wire transfer. 2,500 recipient M. Jenkins. I kept scrolling. Another transfer. 800. 2 months prior was 200. Then $3. Time after time, money was steadily withdrawn, scattered, and disguised under transaction codes like project consulting fees or HR advances. They were buried in a dense transaction history like breadcrumbs leading to a deadly trap. When I totaled the numbers, in just 12 months, Michael had quietly siphoned over $45,000 from their joint savings account straight into Maya Jenkins's account. But that wasn't even the worst part. I glanced over to the large balance fluctuation section. Exactly 2 weeks ago, a massive amount of money evaporated from their high-yield savings account. A $50 sound wire transfer, paid to Hudson Luxury Developments LLC. That was the deposit for the high-end apartment the assistant had just bragged about. My daughter's money, Allison's sweat and tears, was being used by that bastard to build a lavish home for his new fiancée. I leaned back against the creaky plastic chair in the technical room, letting out a breath. If I were an ordinary father, perhaps I would have grabbed a wrench, rushed up to the 8th floor, and smashed that bastard's skull right there. But explosive anger is the weapon of fools. In war, emotion is the enemy, and evidence is the ammunition. The winner isn't the one who screams the loudest, but the one holding a blade to the opponent's neck without making a sound. I dug deeper into Michael's encrypted email inbox. Attachments started appearing. One caught my attention. A PDF named Pitch Deck Follow. I double-clicked to open it. A highly professional and sharp pitch deck for raising investment capital. The company name sat proudly on the first page. M&M Capital Partners. M&M, Michael, and Maya. I quickly skipped past the cliché mission and vision to get straight to the company's organizational structure. Chief Executive Officer, CEO, Michael Davis, Chief Operating Officer and shareholder holding 20% equity, Maya Jenkins. I stared at the screen, the corners of my lips slightly curling into a chillingly cold smile. This bastard wasn't just buying shoes, bags, or an apartment for his mistress. He was using marital assets, Allison's hard-earned money, to fund the charter capital for a completely new corporate entity. And he blatantly handed his 24-year-old mistress a 20% stake in that company. He was digging into my daughter's pockets to build an empire for himself. I saved all statements, documents, emails, and company records onto a military-grade encrypted USB wiping, all access traces from the system. I took off my gloves, shut down the laptop, and walked out of the technical room. That afternoon, the old maintenance man calmly packed up his tools, greeted the building security guard friendly, and disappeared into the crowded flow of New York City. At 8 o'clock that evening, I didn't return to my quiet suburban mansion. Instead, I took a taxi to an empty cafe deep in the West Village. Sarah was already waiting there. Sarah was Allison's best friend from college, and also one of the most notorious asset protection and family lawyers in the city. Anyone who had to face Sarah in court ended up losing all their assets. I walked in, wearing a worn leather jacket, and pushed a steaming cup of coffee toward myself. Sarah looked at me, her sharp eyes instantly recognizing something unusual. "Uncle Arthur, what's wrong that you called me out at this hour? You look exactly like when you were about to take down that fraudulent real estate billionaire last year," Sarah asked, her tone serious. I didn't answer. Right away, I placed the cold black USB on the wooden table, pushing it toward her. "Open it, Sarah," I said calmly. "You will need to mobilize your entire legal team tomorrow morning." Sarah plugged the USB into her laptop. Her eyes quickly scanned the files. As an experienced lawyer, it took her exactly 3 minutes to understand the whole story. When she read the $50,000 transfer statement and the M&M Capital Partners equity records, Sarah's face turned pale with shock. She slammed the laptop shut, looking up at me, her eyes burning with angry fire. "That bastard," Sarah hissed through her teeth, "he is blatantly siphoning marital assets. If we take this to court, a judge will chop him into pieces for using joint money to buy real estate and shares for his mistress. Does Allison know about this yet?" "No," I shook my head. "I just found out this morning. It's highly likely that bastard is raising capital to officially break away and operate independently." "What are you going to do next, Uncle Arthur?" "We must immediately apply for an order to freeze the joint account." "No," I interrupted, my voice firm and cold. "If you freeze the account now, he'll sense danger. He will throw a smokescreen, hire good lawyers, hide other assets, and drag out this divorce until Allison is completely exhausted, mentally and financially. Never spook the prey when it hasn't fully stepped into the trap." Sarah looked at me, an awe gleaming in her eyes. "Then what do you want to do?" "I want to prepare the most watertight lawsuit file. I want a blade so sharp that when it drops, he won't have a single chance to struggle. I leave the legal part to you. As for ending his career, Allison and I will do it ourselves." Leaving the cafe, I drove straight to my daughter and son-in-law's luxury apartment on the Upper West Side. It was 10:30. At night, Michael had texted Allison saying he was busy entertaining an important partner and would be home very late. Naturally, I knew exactly where and on whose bed he was entertaining the partner. I knocked on the door. Allison opened it. She was wearing a thin sweater, her face a bit tired, but still beaming with a bright smile when she saw me. "Dad, why are you here so late?" "Come inside. It's freezing out there." I stepped in, looking around the apartment she had personally decorated. Every painting, every curtain contained the dedication of a wife. My heart tightened. This was the hardest part. In the military, I could coldly declare life and death orders, but to tell my beloved daughter that the life she was living was a garbage play was a heart-shattering task. I pulled Allison down to sit on the sofa. I didn't beat around the bush. I placed the stack of printed documents from the USB onto the glass table. "I want you to see this, Allison. And I want you to remember carefully that you are Arthur's daughter. The blood flowing in your veins doesn't know the word surrender." Allison looked at me in confusion, then slowly picked up the file folder. The moment she saw the photo of Maya with the diamond ring, then the bank statements filled with red numbers, her whole body froze, her eyes widened, her lips trembled, her chest heaved rapidly, trying to gasp for air. Tears began to well up, rolling down her pale cheeks. This shock was like a brutal punch straight to the gut, shattering a woman's entire faith. "Dad, this," Allison's voice broke fragmented. $45,000, the apartment. "Dad, this was our emergency fund." I sat closer, tightly hugging her shaking shoulders. I let her cry. She cried for 7 years of youth being deceived, cried for a trampled love. But I knew my daughter well. That weakness would only exist for a few minutes. "Cry, daughter. Cry away all the sentimentality tonight," I whispered in her ear, my voice warm but containing invisible strength. "But tomorrow, when the sun rises, you are not allowed to shed another tear for an unworthy man. Our biggest enemy right now is emotion. Evidence is the currency." Allison gradually stopped crying. She looked up, wiping away the last tears. Her eyes changed, the despair gradually disappeared, making way for a coldness and sharpness identical to my eyes when aiming at a target. "You're right, Dad," Allison spoke, her voice regaining a terrifying calmness. "I will not walk out of this marriage as a loser. What do we do next, Dad?" I smiled. That was my daughter. That bastard is throwing a cocktail party to launch the M&M Capital Partners Investment Fund this Friday night at the Plaza Hotel. He is looking for angel investors to pump seed capital, I said, my eyes shining in the dark. We will let him climb to the absolute peak of excitement. And then, we will kick his ladder away right in front of everyone. The following days passed slowly, like a slow-motion film. I still regularly put on my ash-gray maintenance uniform, appearing at TechSphere to finish the system maintenance contract. My real purpose was to observe the enemy's arrogance level before they were kicked down the abyss. Maya was living in her peak days. She wandered around the office, bragging to anyone willing to listen about the upcoming launch party. She treated me as if I were a germ stuck to the sole of her designer shoes. On Thursday morning, as I was double-checking the electrical system under the floor near Maya's desk, she accidentally spilled a drop of espresso on the fur rug. Instead of cleaning it herself or calling the janitor, she tapped the toe of her shoe on the floor, jerking her chin toward me. "Hey, old man," Maya called out sharply, her eyes full of contempt. "This is dirty. Get a rag and clean it up. Be careful. Don't dirty my Jimmy Choo shoes. They're worth your whole month's salary." I looked up at her, then slowly took a clean rag from my tool bag, wiped the coffee drop off the rug, just a few centimeters from the expensive shoe tip. "Done, miss," I said in an even voice, perfectly playing the role of a lowly person. "You better know your place," Maya smirked. "I'm in a good mood today, so I don't want to make things difficult for you. Tomorrow will be the turning point that changes my entire life. I am about to become a true high society lady." I nodded, packing up my tools and standing up. "I believe that tomorrow, your life will definitely take a completely different turn." While Maya was busy with her illusions of power, I had secretly launched a counterattack, at a level her limited brain and her lover could never reach. I used my real identity in the underground financial world, the Vance Group Venture Capital Fund. Through intermediaries, I sent word to Michael's broker that Vance Group was looking for an emerging investment fund to pour a massive amount of seed capital into. When he got the news that an anonymous shark wanted to invest millions of dollars into M&M Capital Partners, Michael went crazy with joy. He constantly sent confirmation emails and desperately invited the Vance Group representative to attend the launch party on Friday night to sign a principal agreement. He thought he had hooked a big fish, without knowing that the fish was opening its mouth preparing to swallow his whole boat. Friday night, 7:30 p.m. The Plaza Hotel stood tall in the middle of Manhattan, radiant and magnificent. Glossy Uber Blacks and Maybachs continuously pulled up to the lobby, dropping off prominent figures in finance, tech, and real estate. I stepped out of my pitch-black Rolls-Royce. Tonight, the greasy maintenance uniform was thrown away. I wore an exquisitely hand-tailored Brioni suit, accentuating the solid physique forged from the military. On my wrist was a limited edition Patek Philippe watch, and my carefully polished Oxford leather shoes glided on the red carpet with steady, authoritative steps. My presence radiated a cold, overwhelming aura, an invisible power that didn't need to be loud to make others automatically make way. I pushed the giant mahogany door to step into the Astor Suite banquet room. The space inside was flooded with warm amber light from crystal chandeliers. Melodious jazz music blended with the clinking of champagne glasses. About 50 guests were gathered in small groups discussing multi-million-dollar figures. On the main stage, the M&M Capital Partners logo was projected on a large screen. And in the center of the room, like the king and queen of the night, were Michael and Maya. Michael wore a perfectly fitted midnight blue tuxedo. He looked dashing, confident and powerful as he swung his arms, explaining expected yields to a group of older investors. Standing close to his arm, with the haughtiness of a queen, was Maya. She wore a form-fitting white silk dress, her hair elegantly styled up, the large diamond ring on her hand sparkling, reflecting the chandelier light. I stopped at the doorway, took a glass of champagne from a waiter, took a small sip, and stood still observing. I wanted to let them enjoy the peak of glory for a few more minutes, because from this height, the fall could smash all bones. After a few minutes, Michael seemed to grow impatient. He kept looking out the door, waiting for the appearance of the mysterious representative from Vance Group, the biggest lifeboat for this embezzled investment fund of his. I slowly walked through the crowd, heading toward the center. The appearance of an older man with an imposing demeanor immediately attracted attention. The surrounding conversations gradually cooled down as I walked past. When I was only about 5 steps away from Michael and Maya, Michael turned his head. His eyes swept over the Brioni suit, stopped at the Patek Philippe watch, and finally met my face. In a millisecond, the confident smile on Michael's lips shattered. All the color drained from his face, leaving a pale, corpse-like skin. His eyes widened, his pupils constricting in terror. He recognized me. Of course he recognized his humble, poor father-in-law. But he couldn't understand why that pensioner old man was appearing here, in the attire of a billionaire, radiating a suffocating, overwhelming killing intent. Maya also felt her lover's stiffness. She turned to look at me. At first, she seemed confused by the luxurious demeanor of the man in front of her, but then the memory of the ash-gray maintenance uniform immediately flooded back. You're that maintenance worker at the company," Maya blurted out, her sharp, ridiculous tone ringing through the luxurious space. "What the hell are you doing here? Who allowed a lowly mechanic like you to sneak into a private high-society party? Security, throw him out!" The surrounding investors started whispering, casting curious and confused glances at us. I didn't even bother to glance at Maya. My ice-cold gaze pierced straight into Michael's trembling eyes. "Aren't you going to introduce me to your friends and partners, son?" I spoke, my voice calm, resounding, clear in every word. The crowd went dead silent. The word son echoed into the space like a ticking time bomb. Michael's mouth moved, his throat making dry sounds, but not a single word came out. He was like a fish thrown ashore, desperately seeking oxygen. Maya frowned, looking from Vikal to me, her face starting to show panic. Michael, what is he talking about? Do you know this mechanic? I slowly took another step forward, the smile completely vanishing from my lips. I am not a maintenance worker, miss, I said, my voice sharp as a razor. I am Arthur Vance, founder of Vance Group, and more importantly, I paused a beat, letting the silence choke the air. I am Michael's father-in-law, the father of the woman he has been legally married to for the last 7 years. The word father-in-law rang out like a thunderclap in the quiet room. Maya's arm, which was clinging to Michael, suddenly dropped down as if she had just touched a red-hot iron bar. The perfect makeup on her face couldn't hide the extreme terror spreading. She gaped, staring at me, then turned to look at Michael. Father-in-law? Maya's voice broke, shrieking in panic. Michael, what the hell is he talking about? 7 years? You have a wife? Michael didn't dare to look straight at Maya. He raised both hands, a desperate gesture of surrender, his pleading eyes directed at me. Dad, please, let's go outside and talk. This is a personal matter. It shouldn't be made a joke in front of the investors. I can explain? A cold, sharp female voice rang out from the banquet room door. The crowd immediately parted to both sides, making way for the person who had just spoken. Allison walked in, no longer the gentle wife in simple floral dresses at home. My daughter wore a sophisticated, sharp black Tom Ford cutout dress. Every step she took in her high heels echoed with dry, decisive sounds on the oak floor. Allison radiated, a commanding authority inherited directly from me, the coldness and ruthlessness of a person holding all the life and death pieces on the chessboard. Allison walked straight to the central cocktail table, where the oldest investors were standing. She didn't bother to glance at Michael once, opened her clutch bag, pulled out a carefully clipped stack of documents, and threw them straight onto the table. The sound of papers hitting the table rang out dryly. Good evening, gentlemen. Allison spoke, calm and clear. I am Allison Davis, the legal wife for the past 7 years of your CEO. I apologize for interrupting the party. But before any of you signs a $1 million check to invest in this M&M Capital Partners Fund, you should know the truth about its seed capital source. An older, gray-haired investor frowned, picking up the folder to look. What truth, miss? I stepped up, standing next to my daughter, continuing with the demeanor of a former intelligence officer reading a sentence. The truth is that all the capital to start this company is stolen money, gentlemen. Over the past 12 months, Michael has quietly siphoned over $45,000 from our joint savings account to provide for that 24-year-old mistress standing next to him. Not only that, 2 weeks ago, he transferred another $50,000 into a real estate escrow account to buy a high-end apartment in her name. All the statement evidence, wire transfer orders are on the table. The room exploded in whispers. The investors' eyes shifted from astonishment to extreme outrage. In the financial world, morality might be a luxury, but using marital joint funds to set up a slush fund and establish a new company meant pushing that entire company into a massive civil asset division lawsuit. No investor was stupid enough to throw money into a burning legal garbage pile. Maya gasped, holding her head with both hands, stepping back a few paces. Her illusionary world of high society life was shattering right before her eyes. You lied to me, Maya screamed, tears smudging her expensive mascara. You said you were single. You said the money you made was your own. So you used your wife's money to buy a diamond ring and an apartment for me? You bastard! Michael stepped closer, trying to grab her hand. Maya, listen to me explain. I'm about to divorce her. I love you. Don't touch me. Maya yelled, slapping Michael across the face. The sharp sound echoed through the room. She yanked the diamond ring off her finger, threw it straight at his chest, then turned and ran frantically out of the banquet room, leaving behind her illusions of power and wealth. The gray-haired investor threw the stack of documents down on the table, turning to Michael with extreme contempt. An investment director who can't be honest with his own family's assets. How can he manage other people's money? Michael, if you think we're going to throw money into a company at risk of having its assets frozen at any time, You're dead wrong. Our contract ends here. Mr. Jim, please hear me out, Michael desperately pleaded. Let's go. Mr. Jim signaled to his partners in just 5 minutes, the luxurious room was empty. They left quickly and decisively, just like how money always flees from a bad bet. Half-finished champagne glasses lay scattered on the tables. The M&M Capital Partners logo still shone brightly on the screen, now looking no different from a ridiculous tombstone. Only the three of us remained. Michael stood rooted in the middle of the room, his expensive tuxedo seemingly becoming too loose. He had lost his mistress, lost his company, lost his chance to change his life, and lost all honor in the financial world. He turned to look at Allison, his bloodshot eyes full of resentment. Are you satisfied, Allison? You've destroyed my entire career, he hissed. Allison looked straight into the traitor's face, her expression unchanged. I didn't destroy your career, Michael. You lit the fire yourself. My father and I just threw the door wide open so everyone could admire that fire. She pulled a pre-signed paper from her pocket, throwing it onto the floor right at his feet. Next Monday, my lawyer will file for divorce and an order to freeze all your bank accounts. You will have to pay back every single cent, including the money you used to buy the apartment for that bitch. Otherwise, you will go to jail for asset misappropriation. See you in court. Allison linked her arm through mine, walking out of the banquet room with her head held high. I walked beside my daughter, my steps firm and satisfied. No one can insult my family without paying the highest price. On Monday morning the next week, lawyer Sarah worked at a terrifying speed. The asset freeze order was issued by the court immediately. Michael was fired from his investment director position at TechSphere on the grounds of serious professional ethics violations and legal risks affecting the company's reputation. Which was not difficult, since I was one of the building's shadow shareholders. He left the company with a small cardboard box, losing his glory and power. No financial company in Manhattan dared to accept someone with a record of blatant marital asset siphoning like him. Maya vanished without a trace. She probably rushed to find a new sponsor to cling to. I returned to my peaceful life. Sometimes, I still wear the greasy uniform, holding a wrench to go repair my buildings to enjoy the tranquility. Being a father is a lifelong mission. There are those who think they can use power and money to bully others, judging people by their appearance. But they don't know that sometimes, the only way to protect the family is to drown them in the depths of humiliation, burning all their fake layers. And when the fire dies out, only truth and strength are what remains. Thank you for listening to this story. If you feel satisfied with the expensive lesson for the traitor, please hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comment section. See you in the next stories.